The Vrexian Supreme Fleet arrived exactly 1 week later, just as predicted. 50 massive warships appeared near the Coalition core world of Helios Prime. Home to over 2 billion beings from various species, it was the heart of the Coalition's government. Jack stood on a hill overlooking the main landing zone, where the Vrexians would likely deploy their ground forces. Behind him were 24 trainees from 12 different species, his new sniper squad. "Remember your training," Jack said as they set up their positions. "Patience. Control your breathing. Wait for the commanders." Kevin was nearby, helping a feathered alien adjust the scope on her rifle. "They're as ready as they can be with just 1 week of training," he told Jack quietly. "They'll have to be," Jack replied. Lisa approached them, carrying a datapad. "The Coalition Defense Fleet is in position. The Vrexian ships will be in range in 30 minutes. "And their Supreme Commander?" Jack asked. "Intelligence confirms he's leading this attack personally," Lisa said. "First time in 50 years he's left their home system." Jack nodded. This was what they had been waiting for. Taking out the Supreme Commander could end the war in one shot. Below them, the traditional Coalition forces had formed up, but with one key difference. They were not in the open as protocol would usually demand. Instead, they were hidden behind barriers and in defensive positions. "At least they learned something," Kevin remarked. The space battle began first. Coalition ships engaged the Vrexian fleet, buying time for the ground forces. Soon, Vrexian landing craft broke through, heading toward the surface. "They're coming," Jack said. Everyone in position. The alien snipers moved with surprising grace, setting up just as Jack had taught them. Some climbed trees, others hid among rocks. All had perfect views of the landing zone. The first Vrexian ships touched down. Soldiers poured out, forming the familiar attack pattern. But something was different. "Where are the commanders?" Kevin asked, scanning through his scope. "I don't see the red markings." Jack frowned. "They've adapted. They're keeping their leaders hidden." The battle began in earnest below them. Coalition forces engaged the Vrexians, but without clear targets, the snipers could only watch. Then a larger ship landed. Its design was different, more ornate, with symbols etched into its hull. "That's it," Lisa whispered. "Intelligence says that's the Supreme Commander's vessel." The ship's doors opened. A massive Vrexian emerged, nearly twice the size of the others. Its exoskeleton was deep red with gold markings. 6 elite guards surrounded it. "There's our target," Jack said. "But he's out of range for most of you, Kevin, and I will take this shot." The Supreme Commander surveyed the battlefield, staying close to the ship and its guards. 2-kilometer shot, Jack said, making adjustments to his rifle. "Wind from the east at 12 knots. Kevin, you aim for the center guard on the left. I'll take the commander. On my mark." Kevin lined up his shot, as did Jack. 3, 2, 1, mark. 2 shots fired simultaneously. Kevin's bullet struck the guard, creating a momentary gap in the protective circle. Jack's bullet passed through that gap and hit the Supreme Commander precisely where the neck segments met the thorax. The massive Vrexian collapsed. Chaos erupted among the enemy forces. "Now," Jack shouted to his alien snipers, "take out anyone trying to take command." 24 rifles fired in sequence. Vrexian officers fell one after another as they tried to rally their troops. News of the victory at Outpost Zeta 9 spread quickly through the Coalition. The details, however, were met with mixed reactions. Some praised the effectiveness of the human tactics. Others called for Jack and Kevin to face punishment for violating the sacred rules of warfare. 3 days after the battle, they were called before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from every Coalition species. The mood was tense. "The humans are here to answer for their actions," announced High Commander Vroll. While Outpost Zeta 9 was saved, many questioned the methods used. Lisa stepped forward. "With respect, Commander, what is there to question? The outpost stands. The colony is safe. Countless lives were spared. An elderly representative from a crystalline species rose. At what cost, human? Your snipers killed without giving their targets a chance to defend themselves. Where is the honor in such actions? Honor doesn't matter to the dead, Jack said bluntly. The Vrexians weren't fighting with honor. They were setting a trap, just like they always do. Captain Drell, who had been at the battle, stood up. I must confirm this. The Vrexian forces were indeed preparing to attack from multiple sides, while their commander pretended to accept my challenge. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked troubled by this confirmation. A new voice spoke up, deep and resonant. Perhaps there is wisdom in both approaches. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Ambassador Krell of the Orthans, who had been one of the strongest critics of human tactics. The humans saved many lives, Krell continued. While their methods disturb us, we cannot deny their effectiveness against an enemy that does not share our values. Kevin, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. I was raised to believe that a sniper's job is to end conflicts quickly and save lives on both sides. One shot, one kill means fewer soldiers fighting and dying in large battles. The council chamber went quiet as they considered his words. There is another matter, High Commander Vroll said after a moment. Our intelligence reports indicate that the main Vrexian fleet is gathering. They appear to be preparing for a major assault, likely on one of our core worlds. Jack looked at the tactical display that appeared. They're changing their pattern, learning from their losses. Yes, Vroll agreed. And our traditional forces may not be sufficient to stop them. Lisa saw where this was heading. You want more human snipers. Not exactly, Vroll replied. We want a combined approach. Coalition forces fighting alongside humans, each using their own strengths. Ambassador Krell rose again. I propose a new unit, a mixed species force trained in both our traditional combat and human, special tactics. The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives shouted in protest while others nodded in agreement. Silence. Vroll commanded, raising all 6 arms. When quiet returned, he continued. We face extinction if the Vrexians succeed. We must adapt or perish. He turned to Jack. Human Foster, would you be willing to train a selected group of coalition soldiers in your sniper techniques? Jack looked surprised. You want me to teach aliens to be snipers? The very thing you've been condemning us for. Times change, Vroll said simply. And so must we. Jack exchanged glances with Kevin and Lisa before nodding. I'll do it. But training takes time, and from the looks of that fleet movement, we don't have much. Then we begin immediately, Vroll decided. Select the best candidates from our forces. You have 1 week before the Vrexian fleet arrives. As the council session ended, a small group of coalition soldiers approached Jack and Kevin. They looked nervous but determined. We wish to volunteer, said one, a feathered alien with sharp eyes. To learn your ways. Kevin smiled for the first time since the battle. It won't be easy. War never is, the alien replied. But survival matters more than tradition. Jack nodded. Then let's get started. We have a lot to teach, and very little time. The Vrexian ships arrived exactly when Jack had predicted. 5 large battle cruisers appeared in the sky above Outpost Zeta 9, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. Jack and Kevin had set up their position on a ridge 3 kilometers from the main outpost buildings. They wore special camouflage suits that changed color to match their surroundings. From a distance, they were nearly invisible. Remember, Jack whispered, though the Vrexians were still far away, we wait for their ground forces. The commanders always lead the first wave. Kevin nodded, his eye never leaving his rifle scope. How will we know which ones are the commanders? They'll be bigger, with red markings on their exoskeletons, and they'll have better weapons. Below them, coalition forces were forming up in the traditional battle lines. Captain Drell stood at the front in ceremonial armor that gleamed in the morning sunlight. Lisa was far behind the lines, watching through binoculars. The Vrexian ships began their bombing run. Explosions rocked the outpost, but most of the important buildings had been reinforced. After 10 minutes, the bombing stopped, and landing craft began to descend. "Here they come," Jack said quietly. "Steady now." The landing craft touched down, and Vrexian soldiers poured out. They looked like giant insects, with 4 arms and sharp mandibles. Just as Jack had said, their leaders were at the front, larger than the others, and marked with red stripes. Captain Drell stepped forward, following the Coalition battle protocol. He raised his ceremonial staff, challenging the Vrexian commander to single combat. "They're falling for it again," Kevin muttered. The Vrexian commander stepped forward, seeming to accept the challenge. But Jack saw what the Coalition forces didn't. More Vrexians were quietly moving to the sides, preparing to attack from all directions. "It's a trap," Jack said, just like before. "Take aim at the commander. On my mark." Kevin lined up his shot, controlling his breathing just as he had been trained. The Vrexian commander was now 20 meters from Captain Drell. It raised its primary weapons in what looked like a salute. "Now," Jack whispered. Kevin squeezed the trigger. The rifle made almost no sound, but the effect was immediate. The Vrexian commander collapsed, a small hole precisely where Jack had described, between the neck segments and thorax. Confusion erupted among the Vrexian forces. Their trap forgotten, they looked around wildly for the source of the attack. "Second commander, 3 o'clock, Jack said, now looking through his own scope. Kevin shifted, aimed, and fired again. Another Vrexian leader fell. The Coalition forces were just as confused as the Vrexians. Captain Drell looked up toward the ridge, realizing what was happening. 3 more commanders in the back, Jack said, pointing them out. "I'll take the left, you take the right and center." Together, they fired. 3 more perfect shots, 3 more fallen commanders. The remaining Vrexians were now in complete disarray. Without leaders to guide them, they scattered, firing randomly in all directions. The Coalition forces, seeing their chance, charged forward. Though taken by surprise, Captain Drell adapted quickly, directing his troops to exploit the Vrexians' confusion. "It's working," Kevin said, a hint of awe in his voice. "Don't celebrate yet," Jack warned. "Look there, 1 more commander, trying to organize a retreat." Kevin found the target and took the shot. 6 for 6. Every Vrexian commander was now down. Within an hour, the battle was over. The Vrexian ground forces had either been captured or had fled back to their ships. The Coalition had suffered minimal casualties. As Jack and Kevin made their way back to the outpost, they could see the mixed reactions on the faces of the alien soldiers. Some looked grateful, others disgusted. Captain Drell approached them, his expression unreadable. "Your tactics were effective," he admitted. "The outpost stands. Many lives were saved." "But," Jack prompted, hearing the hesitation in Drell's voice, "but many of my officers feel the victory is tainted, won without honor." Lisa stepped forward. "Would it have been more honorable to let your people die? To lose the outpost and endanger the colony?" Captain Drell had no answer for that. He simply turned and walked away. "Did we change anything today?" Kevin asked quietly. Jack watched the Coalition soldiers tending to their wounded and securing Vrexian prisoners. "Maybe not their minds," he said, "but we saved their lives. Sometimes that has to be enough." 2 more outposts fell before High Command finally called Jack and Lisa back to their headquarters. The main command center was filled with representatives from different species, all looking grim. High Commander Vroll sat at the center of a large table. "Human Foster, your analysis has proven correct. The Vrexians are using the same attack pattern. Our intelligence suggests their next target will be Outpost Zeta 9. Jack nodded but stayed silent. "This outpost is of great strategic importance," Vroll continued. "It protects a major colony world with over 3 million civilians. If it falls, those people will be in grave danger. Then you need to evacuate them now," Jack said. Vrol's upper arms twitched in what Lisa had learned was a sign of frustration. There is not enough time. The Vrexians will arrive in less than 2 standard days. Lisa stepped forward. Have you reconsidered our proposal? The room went quiet. Vrol looked around at the other commanders before answering. We have, he said slowly. The Council has, reluctantly, approved a small human military unit to be deployed to Zeta 9. You will be permitted to use your sniper tactics against the Vrexian command structure. Jack raised an eyebrow. Just like that. After all the talk about honor and tradition, a female commander from a reptilian species spoke up. We do not embrace your methods, human. We merely recognize that desperate times call for desperate measures. Fair enough, Jack said. I'll need to select my team. Already done, Vrol said, pressing a button on the table. A door opened, and a young human man walked in. He was tall and lean, with short brown hair and alert eyes. He wore standard human military uniform, with no rank insignia. This is Kevin Miller, Vrol introduced him. He is part of your Earth Defense Force, specifically a long-range specialist. Jack studied the young man. You're a sniper? Kevin nodded. Yes, sir. 5 years of service. Top of my class in advanced targeting. Good. You're with me then. Jack turned back to Vrol. We'll need proper equipment. Rifles, camouflage gear, surveillance tech. All being loaded onto a scout ship as we speak. Vrol said, You leave in 3 hours. As they prepared to leave, Lisa pulled Jack aside. I'm coming with you. Jack shook his head. This isn't a diplomatic mission. Exactly why I need to be there, Lisa insisted. When this works, I need to document everything so we can show the Council that human tactics have their place. Jack started to argue but saw the determination in her eyes. Fine, but you stay back with the coalition forces. No arguments on that point. The scout ship was small but fast. It carried Jack, Kevin, Lisa, and a crew of 4 aliens from different species. As they approached Outpost Zeta 9, Jack and Kevin prepared their equipment. Have you ever fired a shot in actual combat? Jack asked as he assembled his rifle. Kevin checked the scope on his own weapon. Twice. Border skirmish on Mars colony. This will be different, Jack warned. These Vrexians aren't like any enemy you've faced before. They have 4 arms, which means 4 weapons. They're fast, and they don't feel pain like we do. So, where do I aim? Kevin asked. Center mass doesn't work well on their physiology, Jack explained. You need to hit them where their neck segments meet their thorax. It's a small target. The ship's captain, a blue-skinned alien with large eyes, approached them. We will arrive in 30 minutes. Our sensors show no Vrexian ships yet, but they are expected within 6 hours. Jack nodded. Perfect. That gives us time to set up positions. He turned to Kevin. Remember your training. Find high ground, establish clear lines of sight, and be patient. We may only get one chance to do this right. Kevin looked at the rifle in his hands, then back at Jack. If this works, will they stop hating us for being snipers? Jack smiled grimly. Probably not, but they might start being grateful for it. 3 days later, Jack stood in the observation room of the Coalition battleship Pride of Ortha. The ship was massive, nearly twice the size of the largest human vessels. But right now, it was running away. On the main screen, Jack watched as another Coalition outpost burned. This was the 5th one in 3 days. They still won't listen, Lisa said as she joined him. She looked tired. Dark circles had formed under her eyes from lack of sleep. The military command insists on following the traditional response patterns. Jack pointed to the screen. And look how well that's working out. The Pride of Ortha had arrived too late to save the outpost. When they got there, the Vrexian ships were already leaving. The Coalition forces had prepared for a traditional space battle, with commanders exchanging formal challenges. But the Vrexians had simply bombed the outpost from orbit and left. I need to show them something, Jack said suddenly. Can you get me access to the battle recordings from the outposts? The ones that sent partial data before they were destroyed. Lisa nodded. I can try. 2 hours later, Jack had what he needed. He called for a meeting with the ship's commander, a stern Orthan named Captain Drell. This better be important, human, Drell said as he entered the meeting room. 4 of his junior officers followed him. It is, Jack replied. He tapped on a control panel, and recordings began playing on the room's screen. I've analyzed the attack patterns from all 5 outposts. Look at this. The recording showed Vrexian ships approaching each outpost in almost identical patterns. See this? Jack pointed to a particular ship in each recording. This is their command vessel. It always takes the same position. And look at the timestamps. They attack at exactly the same time in each battle. Captain Drell leaned forward, his scales shifting color slightly as he concentrated. What are you suggesting? They're running a playbook, Jack explained. These aren't separate battle groups making their own decisions. This is one commander using the same tactics over and over. Lisa caught on quickly. Because it's working. They have no reason to change what they're doing. Jack nodded. And that makes them predictable. One of the junior officers spoke up. Even if you're right, what does it matter? Our ships can't get there in time to intercept them. No, Jack agreed. Your big ships are too slow. But what about smaller ones? Scout ships. Do you have anything fast enough to get ahead of the Vrexians to their next target? Captain Drell exchanged looks with his officers. We have scout vessels that could make that journey. But they carry no weapons that could stop a Vrexian battle group. They don't need weapons, Jack said. They just need to carry a few soldiers, specifically snipers. The room went silent. The Orthan officers stared at Jack with expressions he couldn't read. You want to deploy snipers against a space battle? Captain Drell asked incredulously. Not against the ships, Jack explained. Against their ground forces. Look at the pattern. They bomb from orbit, then they land troops to search for survivors and technology. Their commanders always lead the ground forces personally. He looked directly at Captain Drell. If we can take out their commanding officers, their forces will be in disarray. This is not how we fight wars, one of the junior officers protested. It's not how you fight wars, Jack corrected. It's exactly how humans fight wars. And right now, you're losing your way. Captain Drell was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, I cannot authorize this. It would need approval from High Command. Then get it, Lisa said firmly. Because the next outpost they hit might not be so remote. It might be a colony with thousands of civilians. Captain Drell's scales darkened. I will present your analysis to High Command. But I make no promises. As the Orthan officers left, Jack turned to Lisa. They'll say no again. Maybe, Lisa admitted, but we planted the seed. And after a few more losses. We might not have time for a few more losses, Jack said grimly. We need to be ready, with or without their approval. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was loud and chaotic. Representatives from 42 species talked over each other. Some pounded their various appendages on tables. Others floated silently, their bodies glowing with anger. Lisa and Jack stood at the back of the large room, waiting to be called forward. They're afraid, Jack said quietly. I've seen this before. When soldiers get scared, they get loud. High Commander Vroll, a tall blue alien with 6 arms, raised all of them for silence. Slowly, the room quieted. We have confirmed reports that 3 coalition outposts have gone silent, Vroll announced. The Vrexians have returned after 50 years of silence. A wave of fearful murmurs swept through the chamber. For those unfamiliar with this enemy, Vroll continued, the Vrexian Empire nearly destroyed the coalition a half-century ago. They seek only conquest and believe all other species exist to serve them. Jack leaned toward Lisa. Sounds familiar. Earth had people like that too. Vroll pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed insects-like aliens with sharp mandibles and 4 arms. Each arm held a different weapon. The Vrexians will follow our combat protocols at first, Vrol explained. Their commanders will step forward for ritualized combat. But this is always a trick. Once our leaders are engaged, they attack from all sides, breaking every rule of honorable warfare. A green plant-like alien stood up. Then why do we keep following the protocols, if we know they will cheat? Because we are civilized beings, Vrol replied firmly. We do not abandon our principles, even against such an enemy. Jack shook his head slightly. Lisa nudged him to stay quiet. Vrol continued, we have called the humans to this meeting because they have experience with unconventional warfare tactics. Diplomatic Officer Kent and her military advisor will address us now. Lisa walked to the center of the room, Jack following behind her. She could feel the stares of every alien on them. Esteemed council members, Lisa began, humanity is still learning your ways. The recording you discovered shows tactics from our past, but it also shows something that might help us now. She nodded to Jack, who stepped forward. I was a sniper for 22 years, Jack said bluntly. I killed enemies from far away where they couldn't see me. You think that's dishonorable? I think it saved lives. The room erupted in angry shouting. Vrol raised his arms again for quiet. Human warfare evolved differently than yours, Jack continued when the noise died down. We didn't have rituals. We learned that the best way to win a war is to end it quickly with as few casualties as possible. Jack pointed to the hologram of the Vrexians. These enemies don't follow your rules. They pretend to, then they break them. They're playing you for fools. More angry murmurs filled the room. Lisa winced. What exactly are you suggesting, human? Vrol asked coldly. I'm suggesting you need to adapt, Jack replied. The Vrexians know your playbook. They expect you to line up your forces and send your commanders forward. They're counting on it. A small furry alien spoke up. Are you suggesting we abandon our sacred combat traditions? Become like humans? I'm suggesting you survive, Jack said. History is written by the winners. If the Vrexians destroy you all, your honor won't matter much. Lisa stepped in before the situation got worse. We propose a joint operation, a small human military unit working alongside your forces. We can target Vrexian command structures using our long-range specialists. Snipers, said Vrol, the word sounding like a curse in his mouth. Yes, Lisa admitted, but only against an enemy that has already shown they don't respect your combat codes. The council chambers went silent. Vrol and the other leaders huddled together, speaking in low voices. After several minutes, Vrol turned back to them. The council will consider your proposal, he said. Until then, you are dismissed. As they left the chamber, Jack muttered, they'll wait until they lose a few more outposts. Then they'll call us. Lisa sighed. Let's hope we haven't lost too much by then. Jack Foster walked into the diplomatic station with his eyes fixed straight ahead. He ignored the aliens who moved out of his path, some making gestures he didn't understand. He knew they were probably not friendly gestures. The news about the recording had spread fast. Mr. Foster, thank you for coming, Lisa said, extending her hand. Jack shook it firmly. His grip was strong, and his eyes were sharp despite being in his 50s. Didn't have much choice when the Admiral calls, Jack replied. He glanced around the meeting room. Nice place. Better than the places I usually got sent to. Lisa smiled. Please, sit down. We have a situation that needs your expertise. For the next 20 minutes, Lisa explained the crisis. Jack listened without interrupting. He watched the recording when she played it, nodding slightly at the human sniper's technique. So Lisa concluded, the entire coalition is ready to kick humanity out because they think snipers are dishonorable. I need you to help me understand why they think this way, and how we can explain our military history to them. Jack leaned back in his chair. You want me to explain why shooting someone from far away makes sense? Yes, but more than that. I need to understand their perspective too. Jack thought for a moment. Set up meetings with these alien ambassadors. Let me talk to them directly. The next day, Lisa watched nervously as Jack sat across from Ambassador Krell of the Orthan species. The ambassador's scaled skin rippled with barely contained disgust. In Orthan military tradition, Krell explained, commanders lead from the front, wearing bright colors to be easily identified. When armies meet, the commanders engage in single combat first. The victor earns the right to negotiate terms before further bloodshed. Jack nodded, and the rest of the army just watches. They witness the combat, yes. It is a matter of honor. What if one side has a lot more soldiers than the other? Jack asked. The ambassador blinked its 4 eyes. That is not relevant. Honor dictates the terms. The meetings continued all day. Jack spoke with 7 different ambassadors, each describing similar traditions. Wars in the galaxy were ritualized affairs with strict rules. Leaders faced each other openly. Distance weapons existed but were only used in specific, agreed-upon ways. When the last ambassador left, Jack turned to Lisa. They fight wars like they're games, with rules everyone follows. Lisa nodded. That's what I'm gathering too. Humans tried that, Jack said quietly. A long time ago. Men lined up in bright uniforms, marched toward each other, and fired when ordered. It was called gentlemanly warfare. Then we realized something. What? Lisa asked. Real war isn't a game. It's about survival. When your people are dying, you do what works, not what looks good. Jack's face hardened. These aliens never had to fight the way we did. They never had to scrape and claw just to exist. Lisa considered this. We need to make them understand. Can you prepare a presentation on human military history? Show them why we developed these tactics. Jack rubbed his chin. I can try. But there's something else you should know. What's that? That sniper in the recording. He saved thousands of lives that day. One man, taking out enemy leadership, prevented a battle that would have been a bloodbath on both sides. Jack leaned forward. These aliens think sniping is dishonorable. We see it as saving lives. Lisa's computer beeped with an urgent message. She read it quickly, her face growing pale. What is it? Jack asked. Outpost Delta 7 just went silent, she said. It's on the edge of Coalition space. Pirates. Lisa shook her head. The last transmission mentioned ships with Rexian markings. Jack's expression darkened. The Vrexians. I thought they were just stories to scare new recruits. They're real, Lisa said. And if they're attacking Coalition outposts, we have bigger problems than hurt feelings about human snipers. Jack stood up. Get me to that outpost. If the Vrexians are really back, the Coalition will need every human tactic they currently despise. The blue alien waved its 4 arms in excitement as it carefully brushed dust from the ancient recording device. Professor Zixtal had been digging on Neuraxis IV for 3 cycles, hoping to find evidence of the great battle that happened here 200 years ago. Now, his patience had paid off. We found something. He called to his research team. The other aliens hurried over, their different colored skin shimmering under the planet's 3 suns. The device was small and damaged, but still working. Professor Zixtal pressed what looked like a play button, and a hologram appeared in the air above them. The recording showed a battlefield from long ago. The aliens watched in silence as the scene unfolded. In the recording, a human male lay perfectly still on a distant hill. He wore camouflage clothing that blended with the rocky ground. Through the scope of a long rifle, he watched alien commanders in bright ceremonial armor giving orders to their troops. The human's breathing was slow and controlled. His finger moved to the trigger. One by one, the alien commanders fell. Each shot was perfect. 1 bullet, 1 death. The human never moved from his hidden spot, 3 kilometers away from the battle. In just 7 minutes, the entire command structure of the alien force was eliminated. Their army, now leaderless, quickly fell apart. Turn it off, said Professor Zixtal quietly. His extra pair of eyes had closed in disgust. This is not how honorable beings fight wars. The recording device was brought back to the Galactic Council headquarters. News of its discovery spread quickly through the 57 species of the Galactic Coalition. Humans had only joined the coalition 5 years ago, after centuries of isolation on Earth and their few colony worlds. Many alien species had been suspicious of humans from the start. Now they had proof that their concerns were justified. Lisa Kent rubbed her tired eyes as she read another angry message on her computer. As the Chief Diplomatic Officer for Human Relations, these complaints all came to her. This was her third straight day without sleep. "Another one?" asked her assistant, sliding a cup of coffee across her desk. "The Bracari are canceling their trade agreement," Lisa said, taking the coffee gratefully. "They say they cannot do business with," and I quote, "a species of dishonorable assassins who hide in shadows." Her office door slid open, and Admiral Greg Powell walked in. His uniform was perfectly pressed, but his face showed the same exhaustion that Lisa felt. "It's getting worse," he said without greeting. "The Krex ambassador just informed me that they're putting forward a motion to have humanity expelled from the coalition." Lisa leaned back in her chair. "Because of something that happened 200 years ago, before we even knew about alien life." "It's not about the time," Admiral Powell explained. "It's about the method. From what I gather, every other species in the galaxy evolved a formal code for warfare. Leaders face each other directly in ceremonial combat. The idea of shooting commanders from hiding is what?" Lisa asked when he trailed off. "The translator gave me the word soul corrupt. I think that's the closest our language can get to their concept." Lisa stood up and walked to the window. The view from Earth's orbital diplomatic station showed both her home planet and the huge alien ships currently in orbit. Some of those ships had been friendly visitors a week ago. Now they looked more like a blockade. "We need someone who understands this," she said finally. "Get me a sniper. Someone who can explain our military history to these aliens before we lose everything we've worked for." Admiral Powell nodded. "I know just the man. Retired Staff Sergeant Jack Foster, best long-distance shooter the Marines ever had." Lisa turned from the window, determination replacing her fatigue. "Get him up here. We got a galaxy to convince that humans aren't monsters."